So welcome back to Learning Partner. This is the next video where I'm going to explain how we validate the reactive form. How do we create the reactive form? Not in detail, just this video will be focused on the validation part only. So I will just create a basic reactive form and then I will explain you like how do we validate. So in the previous episode, we have seen the same thing with the template form. So this was the component. So here you can see if I touch anything, so required message is visible. If I type anything, then minimum character required is here. Same like for email also I have done this required. Then once I enter email ID is not proper. If I provide the correct email ID, then that message will also go away. So this is with template form. Now same thing whatever we have done in the template form, same like that we have to do in the reactive form also. So let's get started for that. So this is again the form I have just using it from the bootstrap site. So you can also copy paste the same. The code is already pushed in the repository, so you can use that. Now let me just close everything. So in the when we implemented the template form, so template form, obviously we start with the ng model. So if we have to use the ng model, obviously we have to use the forms model. So this is an Angular 17, so we don't get app module, and there we can import all the dependencies. So whatever you need to import that in your component itself. So like that you can see in the template form component, we have added forms model over here. Now, so previously, if you know, if we have to use the reactive form model, we used to import the reactive form model. So just like that, here also you need to do the same. So here, reactive forms model you need to import. Now, first you need to create the form. So template is very easy. You can just create an object and that object you can bind to the form. But when it comes to creation of the what when it comes to the reactive form, there is a lot much code we have to write in the component than in the HTML. So in the HTML also we have to write the code, and in .ts also we have to write the code. So many code will increase in case of reactive form. So first, just like we used to create the object in .ts, just like that we have to create a form over here. So first I'm creating user form variable and providing a data type of form group. Sorry, form group. So once I entered, you can see it is automatically updated my import statement. Currently, it will give the error like it is not initialized, because obviously we have not initialized. This error will be compilation error will be there for all the variable which you create and you don't initialize it. Now I'm creating a constructor. Now in constructor, I'm providing a values to my form. Values as in when we create the object in the template form. So if we see, this was an object, inside that we had the properties. Just like that, we have created a form, and inside the form, we need to create the control. Controls are nothing but what are the fields I'm going to have in my particular form. So in constructor, this dot user form is equal to new form group. Now I'm initializing a form group. I'm creating new form group. So round bracket, curly bracket, enter. So now you can see that error is gone because we have just initialized this particular variable. This is nothing but a variable, but we have stored the data type. We have provided the data type like this is going to be a form. So once we initialize that form, the error is gone. Now we have created the form. Next thing is we have to create the controls in this form. So what are the things we have in the form, like first name, last name, username. So that I will create. So let's say first name colon. Now this is my first control. So I have need to specify the data type also, just like I have provided form group. So this is my control. So new form control. Sorry, new should be small form control. So you can see it is suggesting once I select, it will automatically add in the import statement. New form control round bracket. Now this round bracket is having 5 constructors. You can see it is saying over here. So we can provide the initial value, validation, everything. So many things we can do. So this is how we create the control. Now, next thing, last name, colon new form control. Let's say, just like in the object also, when we create, we initialize some value. We initialize with empty. When in case of Boolean, we initialize with false. Same like that, we can do the same thing over here. So this is a place where you need to initialize it. So here I'm initializing it with empty, just like this. So whenever you create the control, you can initialize that with empty value over here. Last name, then email, new form control, just like that. Now it will be just the properties control name will get changed. What else we had? Username, city, state, and zip code. This will be username, city, colon, new form control, round bracket, let's initialize. Then state, colon, new form control, round bracket, and then zip code. So zip code, colon, new form control. Again, to create the reactive form, we can either create the reactive form by using form group, or the form builder services also there. By using that also, you can create the same. Now, this is how your form will look. So first we need to create a variable with the data type form group. Then in the constructor or in any another method, you can initialize that form with the controls you are going to have. Or this same thing, you can move it over here also, like this. Same thing you can do it also over here also, but just to keep the code proper, we initialize variables in the constructor. So we are just following that. So same thing, instead of doing it over here, I have done that in the constructor. So my form is created. Now comes part for the HTML. We haven't actually started with the validation. First, reactive form we are doing. Now in the HTML, we had the form tag. So here we need to add form group. And here you need to provide the name of the form, name of the as in which variable you have stored your form. So my variable, my form name is nothing but user form. So this will go over here, form group, and you need to provide your form value. Now, same thing in template form, we used to bind that particular element with ng model with that object dot first name. Like this, we used to bind. But same thing now in reactive form, what we you need to do is on each element you need to write form control types. So we don't need it, right? Form control name. And here you just need to provide the control name. So control name as in whatever the controls we have created. So first name will go over here. Just like that, I will just copy paste it now. Last name, let's get the last name control name. Whatever the control name you give over here, same thing you need to provide over here also. Then username. Let's just find the remaining thing also. City. Always try to copy paste so that you won't make the spelling mistake. State. And the last one is the zip code. I think we forgot one, that is for checkbox. So let's create it. Is agree. Let's create this new form control. Let's initialize with false value. Now, so we in .ts first we have created a form. In the constructor we have initialized all the controls, and then in the HTML on the form tag first I have binded this form group, and then in each element I have added the same control name by using form controller name. So instead of ng model, you use form control name over here, and you just need to pass the control name what you have created in your form. Let's just save and check if everything is fine or not. So this validation is not the validation we have added. It is just the simple div I had added. So no error is there, means reactive form is proper. Now we need to do the validation. So validation as in, so in template form, we used to provide the validation rules in the HTML itself. But here you need to provide the HTML, like what are the required uh, how many rules for the validation you need to add, that you will add it in the form itself, because here you have created the form. So here only you need to provide the validation also rules. So that will be like, so once you initialize the value, after that give the comma, then square bracket. Now here you can provide, you can see validator options. Like what are the validators you need to add, you can add it over here. So first, like I need to add a required. So validators, so you can see once, currently I don't have any in the import statement. Once I select this, it is added over here. So validators dot required I need. So let's say for first name, only one validation is there for the required. Let's go to last name, again square bracket, validators dot required, comma. Since it is an array, like what are the number of validation you need to add, you can add it over here. Now I need to add the minimum length. So validators dot min length, let's say min length at least 4 character. Just like that, how we have done over there, same like that, you need to add it over here also. Correct? Now, in the username, we had added the validation for the email validation. So here also we will do the same. Validators dot required will be there, and validators dot email. Now in the reactive form, you directly have the validation with email. You don't need to pass your pattern or anything. Directly email validation is already there, right? So on first name, last name, and the username, only on the 3 fields we have added the validation. Now, how do we show the, I mean, how do we show the validation now on the front end side? Because we have added the validation, but we need to show the message also, no? Like this is required, minimum length is this on the front end side. So here, this is the div where we used to do that. Now here, either you can do like this. Now same thing, whatever we have did in the template form. So here you can see we have added invalid, touch, dirty. Like the same thing, it is available over here, but just way of writing is something else. Now I need to use the form. So first element like star ngif, I will use it. Again, if you have to use the ngif, you need to add the common module. So let's go over here. Common module we have to add, or you can use the ngif. So here user form dot controls square bracket single quote, and you need to pass your first name. So this is like we are selecting particular control from my user form controls, and which control I need. So first name, and here I will use dot touch property. Okay, let's just try if this works. If I touch this text box, this div should be visible. Let's just save all and let's test if it works. Now you can see I am not getting that div red color message over here. But if I touch this text box and go away, now it is visible. Means this is working fine. So what we have did here, from our control, we have selected this particular control and we are checking like this control is touch or not. The same thing, whatever we have did over there, now same thing we are doing. Nothing new. Just the way of writing is something else. So if we see the template form, what else we have added? Invalid, touch, dirty. So 3 things we have written. So just like that, we will also return it over here. So this is what we have selected. Dot invalid, and then we need to wrap that second thing with the round bracket. Either touch or dirty. Like this. So let's check one more time if it is working fine. Either touch or dirty. So you can see the validation, but this is not the validation. This is like only div is getting visible. Now we need to show the proper validation message. So here, instead of it, I will use my span. Now here on the span, again, I will use star ngif. Now again, same thing. This will be same over everywhere. Dot errors I need to use. And from errors, again the same thing, question mark dot, which error we need? Required. And if it in this particular element required error is there, we will show like this is required. Let's just test if required is visible. So currently we don't have anything, but if I touch, the required message is there. But if I type something, so that is also going away. So required validation message is working. After that, we need a second check. No, first let's me check. So on the first name only, we have added only one validation, that is for required. In the last name, we have added required plus min length also. So let's go over there. Now, if you see typing this same thing, this is kind of repeating everywhere. User form that getting the control name. This is nothing but repeating. So we can avoid this also. We can avoid this. How we can avoid this? As in, we can create a function which will return the particular control. Let me tell you how. Because this code will be very, in HTML side, we are writing so much of code. This, you can see it is getting repeated so many times. So we can reduce this. Let me just first complete the basic with this flow, then I will explain you like how you can reduce this. So again, so on this ngif div star ngif, first is like user form dot controls dot square brackets, single quote, and the control name, that is last name. Right. So now I will just copy paste this same thing. Just I need to change the control name. Just instead of the first name, it will be last name over here, over here. Now this div is done. After that, two span I'm going to need. First for the required and second for the min length. So again, I can use the same thing. Instead of first name, it will be last name. This is for required. And second span I will be needing for the required validation. Sorry, min length validation. So instead of required, it will be min length. LENGTEH, correct. Now, how many characters we have said? 4 characters. You can see 4 characters. So same message we will display it over here. Minimum 4 characters required. Let's save and check it now. So you can see both the places we are not getting validation on the page load. So if I type, so if I just touch that, so this is required is coming. Now if I enter some value, another message is coming for the required. Like it is saying 4 characters are required. So once I enter the 4 character, that validation message is also going away. So this is how we validate. Now the last thing, pattern. So email validation. Let's just copy paste the same thing, paste it over here. Now for this control, let's username, username, username. Now here we have added the required also and the email also. So here we will say username, username. First is the required and second is the email validation. And here we will just change the message like email is not proper. Let's just save and check if it is working. So by default message is not coming. If I touch, required message is coming. Chetan@gmail.com. So you can see it is getting away. The required message is going away along with the proper email format is also there. So this is how you validate the form in reactive form. Now again the same thing. Let's say I need to trigger this validation on my button click. So this is how validations are there. But if I click on the button, this validation message should trigger. Let's just remove the remaining because that doesn't make sense. Let's remove this. What I mean to do is once I click the submit, whatever the required validations are there, that should be triggered. So for that, again, the same thing here, instead of button, let's create a button. I will create a function on click, submit. Let's create this function. Now, so in the normal template form, we had created this form and then we have sent this form over here. But this is a reactive form. So already form value is over here. So you don't need to pass it. So here we can check the validation of the whole form also. So constant is form valid. I will check it like this dot user form dot valid. Let's add a debugger. Now, what I wanted to tell you, like first we will check the form is valid or not. Then we will trigger the validation on the submit also. Now over here, debugger is on. If I click on submit, why it is not getting triggered? We are facing some error on submit is not defined. On submit, on submit. Let's save all again. So now if I click on submit, why it is saying on submit is not defined? We have created the element. Sorry. Click function in the round bracket. So once I click on it, my function is getting called. Now here you can say currently my form is invalid because I haven't provided the required field validation. So let's provide it. Now I have provided all the required fields. Now if I click on submit, now you can see form valid you are getting true. So by this check, you can see in the .ts also like if the form is valid or not. Now the second thing, like if I directly click on submit, my validation should trigger. So for that, you can create a variable over here, like is form submitted. Boolean, let's initialize with false. And this variable, we will make it true in this variable. So this dot is equal to true. So once we click the button, we are just making this variable true. And this same variable, you can use it on this with an AND condition like this. Let's just copy. Let's paste it. Let's just save it all and let's check one more time. So once I click on submit, we are just changing that variable to true. So now why validation is not there? It is not saved or what? If this is true, okay, so we have added and. So instead of and, it should be or. I forgot that. Either of the condition, either this or any one of it. Let's try now. By default, it is visible. What we did over there, let's check one more time. Oh, so first is invalid. So sorry. That or condition should be inside our AND. So either of any of three condition, either this variable is true or it is touch or dirty. So this will go inside the over here after this, same after this also. Let's remove this. Now it should work fine. Let's save all. So once I click on submit, that variable get true, and that is also provided in the or condition. So you can see the validations are triggering. But as this is a reactive form, so we have so many things already available over here. So you can see now rather than creating this variable, okay, so I'm using this variable and we'll be using this variable for triggering the validation on the first name only. Now from last name and the email, I'm removing this. Now there is one more way, that is a reactive way to use this. So I can make this form as touched. So that we can do like this dot user form dot set where it is dot touch something is there, mark as touch. So this is the method which we can use. So this will explicitly mark all the controls as touch, like all the elements as touch. So you can see Now, without using this variable also, in the last name and the username, your validation get triggered. So on click of submit, why it is not still visible? Is this mark as touch? Let's try with this. Not happening. So what is the use of this? A control is touched by the focus and a blur event do not change the value. When true, mark only the control. When false, not supplied. Is it a property? Let's try like this. No, this is not a property. This is a function only, but it's not working. Let's try one more time. Not happening. Okay. Anyway, so with using that variable also, you can do the same thing. But just by creating a variable, again, there are ways like we can use a for loop on the controls and mark each control as touch. But again, the code will get complicated. So just to keep this video simple, I'm using the variable to trigger the validation. Right? So this is how you validate the reactive form. This is how you create the, first you create the form, then you add the controls to it. Then on the HTML side, you provide the form group name over here. On each element, you can add the form controller name. And this is how you provide the validation. So that's it with the current video.